Good morning, everybody. Greetings from myself and Noelle. She speaks loud, so sorry. Listen carefully when it is time. Hey, stand up for a second. She's gotten taller. Well, she's got wheels on her feet. Actually, it's she's got her rollerblades on, and she came up to the church today to help me do some work. And she's gonna be like those waitresses at Sonic. I think they come out on their roller skates delivering food. I think that's at Sonic. I could be wrong, but she's practicing be rollerblades. So I'm expecting lunch on rollerblades. Can you do it? No. No. Okay. All right. At least she's honest about it. Good morning to everybody. It's Wednesday once again, and we're going to be in Psalm 114. Psalm 114, if you'd like to join us and follow along here in Psalm 114. Kind of a neat psalm that serves as a great reminder for us today, as the psalmist looks at some of the events of the past in the history of Israel, and so kind of a neat little psalm here. So let's look at it here, okay? Psalm 114, verse number 1. The Bible says, when Israel went out of Egypt, the house of Jacob, from a people of a strange language, Judah was his sanctuary and Israel his dominion. The sea saw it and fled, that being the Red Sea. Jordan was driven back. You remember when Israel finally entered into the promised land and how the Jordan River was parted as well. The mountains skipped like rams and the little hills like lambs. What ailed thee, O thou sea, that thou fleddest? Thou Jordan, that thou wast driven back? Ye mountains, that ye skipped like rams, and ye little hills like lambs. And so the psalmist says, hey, kind of like this, hey, what's your problem, sea? How come you fled like that? Hey, what's going on, Jordan? Why were you driven back? Hey, mountains, why were you so easy to cross and that? Hey, what's going on? What's the deal? Look at verse number 7. Here's why. The Red Sea was moved. The Jordan River was pushed back. The mountains were like rams and lambs. Verse number 7. Tremble thou earth at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the God of Jacob. And then one more example here, which turned the rock into a standing water. You remember when water came out of the rock? The flint into a fountain of waters. Think about it now. The psalmist here saying, hey, why is it that the Red Sea was stopped, the Jordan River, the mountains, the hills, the water gushed out of the rock? Why is it? Because of the presence and power of God. We find in these couple verses, we see God's power on full display as he drives the sea back, drives the Jordan back, and makes the mountains and the hills like rams and lambs. And we see God's power on display. I want to share this thought with you. Think about it now. The same power, the same God of the Israelites is our God today. And he has that same power today. And he's our God. Our God has that power. That's truly exciting. That's truly awesome. And then you look, not only do we see God's power evidenced here, and we have the same powerful God today, but in verse number 8, also, I know we see God's power, but think of the purpose in making the water come out of the rock. We see not only God's power, but we see God's provision. God provided for the Israelites as they wandered in the wilderness, and then also as they conquered into the promised land. We see God's provision. And the God that provided yesterday or in the past is the God that provides today. And God can meet your needs. God will meet your needs. and we consider his power, we consider his provision here, and it is on this, God's power and provision is on display, not only for us to see, but also for the world to see. And that's why it's so important that we give testimony of God's power in our life, of God's provision in our life, so that the world can see the awesomeness that is our God. And I want to share this with you. Oftentimes, we think of God's power, and people think of God's power. But what I want us to consider here is that provision. That provision is really, for me, it's almost an extension of his love. You think about the fact that God would look to our individual needs, shows that he loves us. As a dad, I provide food for Noelle. Now, I don't always make it, don't get me wrong, okay? I'm not that great a cook. However, one of her most favorite meals is what? Homemade pizza, which that's me. But anyway, God has give me the position of her dad, and it's my responsibility to meet her needs physically, even emotionally, and then spiritually as well, as I'm to be teaching and training her in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. And so what a great responsibility, and me being that tool of provision in her life, and really in my entire family, that I do out of love for Noelle. And that's what God does for us. He loves us so much that he wants to provide for us. He wants to bless us. Now, I will say this, just because we have that relationship with the Lord does not mean we get everything that we want and that our entire life is going to be what we consider easy. I mean, there are Christians around the world that haven't been blessed and privileged, I guess, to live in the United States of America and experience all of her blessings. But there are Christians around the world who, man, they suffer greatly, but God gives us a different mindset after salvation. And really, he gives us a different focus. It's not on me, it's on others. And it's on being a testimony of others of Jesus' love. And so this psalm here, speaking of God's power, his provision, and it's there for all the world to see, and be thankful that if you see God's power provision in your life as well. And I just want to encourage you with those thoughts for today. What a neat psalm, looking at the history of Israel, and what an encouragement it is that, hey, the God of the Israelites of the Old Testament, he's our God. He's our God today. And so leave you with those thoughts for today. I want to encourage you, have a great day. Hopefully it's a little bit warmer today. It's looking like it's going to be. I know we had rain yesterday. I didn't see rain in the forecast today unless it's changed since yesterday. But it's supposed to warm up. When I first looked this morning, it was 38 degrees. And so a little chilly, but it's already warmed up significantly and looking to get into the 70s today. I'll give a few shout outs here. Good morning to my wife, Ingrid. And she says, good morning, Bucket. That is, excuse me. Don't be laughing at me. Goodness. Bucket is Ingrid's nickname for Noelle. I don't know why, where, when. She's a bucket, I guess. I don't know. Good morning, Brian and Cindy. Thanks for being on. Cliff and Karen, always good morning to you. Good to see you on. The Barnetts on as well. Good to see you today. And I'm trying to find the rest of them. There we go. And all the kids are watching too. Well, kudos to them. And all of us, I want to encourage you all, let's live for the Lord today. Don't forget God's power. Don't forget God's presence in our life, and then also God's provision. All right, Lord bless you all. Have a great day. Oh, don't forget, church tonight at 6:00. Hope to see you here. Awesome. All right. Lord bless y'all. Have a wonderful day.